Essa é mais uma entrevista especial do podcast da revista Visão Hospitalar, na 15ª Convenção Brasileira de Hospitais. Estamos agora aqui a conversar com Jan Mackereth-Hill. Jan, it's a pleasure to have you here. And can you tell me who is Jan Mackereth-Hill?
Obrigada, Carlos. Okay. So I am an independent consultant based in the UK in London. I've worked in many countries overseas doing quality improvement for healthcare. I started off my journey in improvement implementing ISO 9001 in a hospital in central London. I then moved on to work for Health Quality Service, which became CHCS, the UK healthcare accreditation body. After that, I went to work for ISQua, the International Society for Quality in Healthcare. So I started off by implementing standards. I then went to helping writing standards and then assessing hospitals against standards. And then I went to assessing accreditation bodies against standards. I decided I liked the journey of improvement and developing standards for people. So I've developed standards in Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, and I've supported organisations in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, and I've worked around the world doing ISQua accreditation surveys, including Brazil.
Yeah, great. Jan, you have a great experience in accreditation models, programs. How do you feel working with ISO 7101 2023?
I'm currently working with 2 organisations in the UK, helping them implement this standard. It's quite a complex standard because it makes any healthcare organisation think a little bit outside what it does. So, for example, I'm working with a radiotherapy service. They're very closed, very specialised. However, one of the big benefits they've found is being challenged by the standard 7101 to find out more about their wider organisation and how they interact with those other services and departments. Because in the previous ISO accreditation that they had, or certification, they just said, oh, it's not our responsibility to look after maintenance and fabric of the building or servicing. Now, with 7101, it makes them more responsible and to find ways of working with these other parts of the organisation. The other organisation I'm working with is regulated by the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Authority, which is very specialised laboratory for fertility clinic. However, it includes things about safety of the child, the individuals, but it doesn't include anything about governance or safety of an organisation. So both of these aspects are really important. And one of the things that I found quite interesting is we're asking about contingency planning, because in ISO 7101, it says you have to have a contingency plan. So these organisations, they don't really have a formal contingency plan, which is quite interesting. So what I would say about 7101 is it has all the requirements of a harmonised standard, but it goes that extra step to make it more appropriate for healthcare and actually make those healthcare organisations think a little bit further than what they do as a clinical specialty.
Yeah. Jan, some people are saying that ISO 7101 2023 is a real competitor of the accreditation processes. What do you think about it?
No, I think it complements. They both complement each other. They're very different. So most accreditation standards, and we're talking about in Brazil, about ONA, which is a national accreditation standards, they're very appropriate for the country. And from what I understand about the Brazilian accreditation services, most organisations have to be owner accredited. So 7101 complements owner and vice versa. You could say perhaps we will tiptoe into quality with 7101, or we'll tiptoe into quality with owner and then look at the other one. 7101 works very well for services that have a discrete product, such as imaging services, radiotherapy, oncology, physiotherapy, you name it, it will fit a service as well as the wider organisation. And I know there's a lot of concern it's going to take over from accreditation, but really they are kind of different but the same, and they do complement each other very well.
In terms of preparation, what would you suggest for a hospital, a small hospital? What do you suggest in terms of to being prepared for ISO 701? Let me tell you something straight to the point. Do you believe that doing a gap analysis before the evaluation, is it good for a hospital?
I would say it's essential. A gap analysis allows you to do a self-evaluation. What have we got? What don't we have? What do we need to improve? Very rarely will any organisation have absolutely everything that's in a set of standards. And if they do, they should review it to make sure it's still current. Because the whole process in the 7101 is PDSA, plan, do, study, act. And if you don't do that gap analysis, you don't know where you've got to plan what you need to do. You then need to develop it. You then need to implement it. And then you need to check it's working. And importantly, that staff who are working with these documents, procedures or systems or processes understand what's expected of them. And then if they don't, they can then move on to training and making sure there's competencies. And all of these things are in 7101. And quite often we find that people will write a policy or a procedure, but they don't really check it's been implemented or that people understand it. So I would say it's crucial is to carry out a gap analysis to find out where you are.
Yeah.
And then you can plan what you need to do, and importantly, how long it's going to take you in order to meet that PDSA approach.
Yeah. However, it's difficult to do a gap analysis, written papers. Do you know any system?
Well, yes. So I've been doing a gap analysis against 7101 on paper. It's possible. And then translating it from Word into Excel, and then analysing and saying the priorities of the actions to take. However, many years ago, some colleagues and I decided to create an online tool to help either quality improvements, anything to do with action planning, implementation of any standards. So I've done this for 7101 into the terms that I've created a series of questions, and then importantly made the links throughout the standard, and then what is a required document. So it's easy to find out. Yeah. This is still very much in its infancy, and I'm hoping to be using it next month in the UK, and then use it again in September as the final kind of audit tool. It's not for the certification body, it's for those working with organisations to support them going through their quality journey.
Oh, excellent. Okay, Jan, if you have a page in this newspaper, Visão Hospitalar,
okay,
and I ask you to write a sentence, a message for the readers, what would you write in your page?
I would say any organisation that is committed to quality improvement should always be looking for the next thing to make them improve. So if they're owner accredited by IQG, JCI, whoever, is that enough? Should we look for something different, something better? Let's do a gap analysis against a standard that we can buy. It's cheaper than going with another agency. We'll use that standard. And as we heard from this morning from BSI, that standard has now been translated into Brazilian Portuguese. So it's available. And we do that gap analysis and say, yeah, we're good with this. Maybe it's something we could consider because it's an international, worldwide standard.
Oh, great. I would write, turn the page.
Okay.
And you're going to see the solution. All right?
Well, yes. I mean, the thing is, people need a solution. When you work with any accreditation agency, they have tools and manuals and instructions and support on how to implement standards. That is one thing I think is missing from ISO. They can't do it. They've got to be independent. So that consultancy, that's what I do. So I'm very happy about this because it allows me to support. But one thing is it's trying to make it simple and user-friendly for people to know what they need to do. If you give somebody a blank piece of paper, they don't know where to start. If you give them something, it may not meet ideally, but it's somewhere to start them on their journey.
Absolutely. Jan Mackereth-Hill, thank you very much indeed. And I hope we can meet another time in another convention and probably in October.
Oh, yes, October.
In ISQua.
The ISQua conference in Sao Paulo.
Good,
yes.
Good. Thank you, Jan.
Muito obrigada, Carlos. Muito prazer.
Thanks.